Good evening to everybody. We are in for a really great treat tonight. We are here with a real true coach. We were just talking about how much we love coaching, me and you, Ryan, and you're talking about how much you love your students, which shows, and how much you love working with them. And tonight we're actually going to go through a lot of people, if you guys don't know, send Ryan videos and he analyzes their technique, and he also will analyze your matches, your match play, and which is really special that he takes the time to do that. And so we talked about that. I see these things over and over and over again that are holding people back. Basically 7 mistakes. We're going to go through singles and doubles mistakes that people are making on the court, and how you kind of notice what they're doing, and things you tell them to correct their game. So I'm really excited for you to come on tonight, and I'm excited to see everybody here. I've already had so many people say hello, Crunch Time. Hi, Peter. So guys, thank you so much for coming on. Let us know where you're coming from. Maybe you can ask some questions, what you struggle with in matches. But Ryan, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Pete. This is I couldn't wait for this to come, and it couldn't get here fast enough. And I'm so glad that the time is now, and I'm really excited to help your viewers win some more matches.
Yeah. So before we get into this, because I always like to give people time to come on. We got Karen from Florida, and she's very, very active on the leaderboard. Ryan, I don't know how closely you've been able to follow. You sent in a great Kickstart video, but this year we're making it a game. TennisCon is a game this year, and I know you guys will not be able to see this screen, but I'm still going to pull it up anyway so I can read it. I know you guys can't see. I know it's blurry, but the top 50 players, which means they're pretty much watching every video, right? Well, let me go down to 50 and find the lowest. The lowest score is 21 points, which means that, and the top score is 27 points. So the person at number 50 has 21 points. And there's lots of people just up there tied for number 1. And one of the biggest struggles with online coaching is that people don't, and it doesn't matter if it's tennis or anything, they don't consume the content. 97% of people never complete a course. So the people are going in and competing their butts off this year and watching every single second of TennisCon. So you guys are getting so much out of it. I could not be more proud of you guys. It's just awesome. Yeah. So, and people, I put out a survey. Lots of people have commented on your kick serve lessons. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So tell everybody a little bit about your tennis background.
Sure.
Before you got online, and then what motivated you to get online, and what you're doing now to help students. And then we'll get into the lesson.
Yeah. All the way back to the beginning, I started playing tennis when I was 5 years old. And then when I was around 8 years old, I met the person who really changed my life, Jim Klein, who was a Vic Braden coach who I got to learn from 8 years old, the Vic Braden system. When I was 12 years old, I knew I was going to teach tennis. I had never had any aspirations to go pro. Not that I would have or been able to. I maxed out at a 5.0 level, but when I was 12 years old, I knew I wanted to teach tennis.
Why was that? What about, was there a coach that you really admired that you like, man, I want to be like that person? Or
my coach, who I ended up working for 24 years, Jim Klein. But I love teaching in general. So if I was not a tennis coach, I would be a high school science teacher, or I just love to teach. I play the cello. I'm teaching my daughter how to play the cello, and I've played cello basically as long as I've played tennis. And whether it's helping my kids learn how to tie their shoes or ride a bike or play an instrument, it was always something that I could tell at a very young age that I enjoyed. In fact, when I was in tennis camps, during group lessons on Saturdays up in South Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where I was taking my lessons, the coach would often ask me to just make a little grip adjustment with maybe one of my friends in the class. Even from a young age, he knew that I understood some things and I pick things up quickly. And once I got a feel and a sense of what that was like, I loved it. In fact, I started my first tennis coaching business when I was 14. I was teaching at 14 years old in my hometown, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. And I just put little flyers in the on like the cork board of the grocery stores, and with the little pull, pull the phone number off
Yeah,
the bottom.
right.
And I was 14, making 20 bucks an hour teaching
Oh,
tennis lessons.
killing it.
I mean, are you kidding me? It's pretty easy to go on a date that night if you're making
Yeah,
60 bucks on a Saturday. And but it was so much fun. I said, "Oh, this is exactly what I want to do." And then
that's
I
so
moved
great.
down. Yeah, I moved down near Philadelphia, about an hour north of Philadelphia, when I was 18 years old, and then I taught there until 2021. Left on great terms, but the online business allowed for from more time with my family to broadening, my lifestyle, and being able to, even save my body because, as you know,
Mm.
coaching can be very hard on the body.
I have no
So
idea about that.
it was definitely something that I love video analysis. I love analyzing matches, technique, putting people side by side to the pros, showing them what they do correctly, but then how to quickly improve certain areas. And once they see it in front of them and they understand exactly not just what they are currently doing, but how to improve, it just was a match made in heaven with me and video analysis.
That is fantastic, guys. I'm proud of you. We have now 75 on. We've got a legend on. Have you ever run across this gentleman? He's a very unique guy, Gordon Tanner from Oxshire. Have you ever run across him?
I
No.
haven't, but now I have. Nice to meet you,
Oh,
Gordon.
oh my gosh, he does like all my challenges, send in videos, and he's amazing.
Oh, that's great. I'm
Yeah,
glad he's
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Tom. Hey, Tom from Oakland. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, actually, one time Gordon and Gigi Fernandez took a picture together at Wimbledon, and they sent it to me. Doesn't get any. It really
That's
doesn't get
awesome.
any cooler than that.
That's cool.
Um,
Very cool.
yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we got a pretty good crowd here, and I think it's
Great.
time to get into some content. What I'm going to do, if you don't see me all of a sudden, don't worry, I'm not gone, Ryan. I'm backstage because I want to give you center stage to that beautiful court you have behind you so people can really
Good.
see it. Guys, as you're watching, get the questions ready. Ryan loves to teach on the fly. You cannot stump this guy. So get your questions ready if you have the same problems or a similar problem or even a completely different problem. By the way,
Absolutely.
B2 is in the house again. He really is loving these live streams, and we're gonna leave and take us through the mistake number one that you're seeing on the singles court. I think we'll start with singles. I'm gonna lead.
Yes. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to be going over are 7 simple mistakes and easy to fix mistakes that I see on a daily basis when I analyze players all around the world at all levels. And so when you can fix these simple mistakes, your results are going to soar. You're going to see it instantly. So we're going to start with singles. And the number one, well, not the number one, but the first mistake that we're going to be working on is not aiming the return of serve. When you're returning serve, it's critical that you pre-plan. So this is going to be you down here. It's critical that you pre-plan where you want the return to go. Now, that doesn't mean you'll always hit your target. It doesn't mean that there's going to be some snafu where the ball hits the line on a clay court or hits a crack and all of a sudden is above your head. It doesn't always work out that way. But if you pre-plan and have an idea of where you want the ball to land, then the chances of winning the point go up. And you can only win a match if you break serve, whether in a game or you have to win points in a breaker. So something very simple that you can think of. I want you, when you're returning serve, to cut the court into thirds. Middle third, left third, right third. I want you to aim for a specific third, and you can use your court depth to help you pick which third. If you're playing someone who's got a very fast serve, or maybe you don't have the greatest reaction time, something that causes you to have to stand back behind the baseline, then I'm going to recommend that you return serve back down the middle. It gives you wonderful margin. So you can aim to the middle and then hit over there and the ball still goes in. Where if you had aimed here initially, then the ball's going over there and you're going to miss. Another great thing about aiming to the middle is, again, I do a lot of video analysis. And I can tell you that there's a high likelihood that when your opponent serves, they fall into the court. They go forward. But you know what they probably don't do? Move back and split step back behind the baseline, which you need to practice. Well, if your opponents aren't doing that, and as I said, chances are your opponents are not doing that, when you hit the ball deep, you actually get the ball at their feet, then they hit the short ball and you can attack. Now, if your opponent has a slower serve and or you're going to be returning from inside the baseline, maybe it's a weaker second serve that you're dealing with, that's when aiming more to the outer thirds is a good idea. So you hit to the outer third, and if you hit it quite well, it's a good idea to follow it up and go forward. You have to treat weak second serves that your opponents are hitting almost like approach shots. Every weak serve that they hit, it has to land in the box. A ball that's landing in the box is a short ball, no different than during a rally. The ball lands short. It's a short ball. So when you're returning serve inside the baseline, be aggressive and go toward an outer third. Maybe aim to the side where the opponent tends to hit higher over the net. That way, when you do come forward, you're dealing with a higher ball and not a ball that they are going to hit low to you. And if you're behind the baseline, then aim down the middle. One thing you can do with your coaches, you go to a tennis lesson and your coach says, "What do you want to work on today?" And you can say, "I want to work on aiming the return of serve. And I want you to hit some pretty fast serves. I want you to put a can, like maybe an empty tennis ball can, or maybe a tennis ball pyramid, 4 tennis balls and make a pyramid. Put a pyramid here, put a pyramid here. Have your coach serve pretty fast serves for your level. You're going to stand behind the baseline and you're going to aim down the middle. Then have them practice some weaker second serves where you're going to be inside the baseline. And now you're going to avoid the center and be more aggressive since it's a slower ball and you're inside the court. Now you can take a bit more risk and go toward the outside and be more aggressive. And again, you can go forward. If you can break serve, you can win a match. If you can't break serve, you cannot win a match. Practice the second most important shot in tennis, in singles, the return of serve. Aim to the middle, aim to the outside. It's all based on where you're making contact. And I can promise you're going to break serve more often.
I love that. First of all, just really good advice. And I think the big takeaway here is to practice it. I think another big mistake that happens is people who do online tennis. I mean, most of everybody here is probably an adult. There might be some kids, a lot of successful people, a lot of people way smarter than me. And so they understand things so fast. And the biggest struggle is that just because your body understands doesn't mean that your mind understands. Doesn't mean that you just hear this great tip from Ryan and then you go, "Oh, well, I'll just now return like that tomorrow. Easy, no problem." You'll have a better chance because at least you're thinking about it now. So you might return better than you normally do because, whoops, sorry, what was that? But anyway, the point is you got to practice it. Remember how Ryan said, get a coach or somebody. Here's a question I have for you. What if somebody says, "Well, I don't have a coach to serve and practice with"? Have you come up with any good routines people can do to actually work on the return of serve by themselves?
Well, you can. I mean, there are certain ball machines that you can put the machine up on the stand. Um, but a simple drop hitting, just
Mm-hmm.
going through the motions, stand behind the baseline and just in your mind rock back and forth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you got to fake it till you make it, right? So you just rock back and forth and you can do a practice split step and think, okay, I'm behind the baseline. I'm just going to drop hit a backhand or forehand, and I'm going to aim to the center and just put a tennis ball right here, cutting it court into thirds. Then stand inside the baseline. This is all by yourself. You go out to practice your serve. You got to go out and practice your return. Just toss the ball up. Make sure you contact above net level, especially when you're inside the court, because if the ball is slower, it usually has an arc and the ball is going to bounce up, and then you can make contact above net level, and then you're going to contact the or aim to the outer thirds. So whether you're having a serve come to you or you're just tossing the ball and feeding it to yourself, your brain's going to figure it out. And so you got to do what you can with what you got. And so no excuses. You just got to go out and practice it.
Exactly. Here we go, guys. We got a question. Good job. Keep the questions coming. This is actually a good question, and it goes right into our topic now. So great job. Hey, Ryan, believe it or not, I occasionally face serve and volley in singles. What's a good return strategy against the serve and volleyer?
Yeah, perfect. So when your opponent comes to the net, whether it's, and this is actually one of the strategies we'll be discussing, but when your opponent is coming to the net, we have to understand, especially with serve and volley, where your opponent is going to be. The first thing you want to understand is that after your opponent serves, especially if they have a good enough serve that they feel confident serving and volleying, they're going to get a maximum of 3 steps after they serve. That's it, 3. And that actually includes the landing. When you land on your serve, that's step 1. And then you get 2 more, and then it's time to split step. That's why the wear mark in Wimbledon is right here. So when your opponent serves and volleys, they're going to be here when they split step. They're not, there's no way to, I mean, you can have a serve that goes 2 miles an hour and, you know, and beat it up to the net, but you're going to hit a strong serve if you're a serve and volleyer. So the serve comes fast enough that you're in no man's land when you're split stepping, meaning when you're making contact, your opponent is going to be in no man's land. So this is where you want to use what is called the 2-shot passing shot strategy. When your opponent's coming to the net, your job is to make the ball land at the tee. A couple things that you may not realize about your opponents. Again, speaking from just nearly 3 decades of coaching and just thousands of players I have helped online personally. Your opponents, even when serving and volleying, are probably not split stepping. And that's a big problem for them. They're serving and just rushing in. And I just did a match analysis for a recent student, and his opponent, this was a high 4-0 level. The opponent had no semblance of a split step, just booking it, just running to the net. And that's good for you if your opponent is serving and volleying and not split stepping. But either way, the goal is just hit the tee. If they're serving and volleying, it's probably a first serve. They're attacking. You're probably behind the baseline. So you don't need to be avoiding them and treating them like they're Navratilova or McEnroe. It's Bob the accountant and Susan the doctor who's serving and volleying against you. So don't treat them like they've got some amazing volley. It's not like Federer, who you'd have to avoid. And don't let Serena get a racket on the ball. But you know, Susan the doctor, make her volley and hit the ball at the tee. What will most likely happen, well, first off, they'll have to hit the ball up. And when your opponent is coming to the net and you make them hit up, chances are you're going to win the point. So you hit the first shot at the tee, you then get the weaker ball, you step inside the court, and now you go for the pass on the second shot. So that's why it's called the 2-shot passing shot strategy. You get your first shot to their feet, trying to make the ball land on the service line. You can do that by aiming a little lower than maybe you normally do. And then they're going to hit the ball. First off, they're going to miss half the time, but the other half they're going to hit up. And that's when you can step inside the court and go for the pass on the second shot.
I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're good.
We crossed over 100,
Yay.
by the way.
Awesome.
So I wanted
Thanks
to put that up.
Here, everyone.
I wanted to put that. Yeah. So you guys are awesome. We're over 100. Ryan, you're killing it.
Nice.
This guy, Mark, is awesome too. Mark, you're right. You can't win without returning but he has come to, goes in all my courses. I know he's worked with Marissa on his footwork and strategy, who's also part of Tennis Con. He's come to clinic, and he works so hard He works so hard. It's incredible. When I first knew him, he was high 3.0, low 3.5, he said, although his strokes and his build already looked way better than that. Now he says he's playing and winning 4 or 5 matches, and he's over
That's
60.
awesome.
It's real. It's a testament to, like, people wonder, well, how good can you get? You know, once I cross 50, can I actually improve? Can I get better? Rather than me comment on that, I know you have the same clientele. Talk about the work ethic that of the students you're working with. You've coached everybody, juniors, everything. Talk about their work ethic, and then how much can somebody actually improve when they get over 50 years old? What do you think?
Yeah, so the first thing is, a lot of times players, if they've never filmed themselves, they don't know what they look like. So they're in a bit of denial, not that they don't think that they can improve, but they kind of think that they're already doing the things that they've been taught. So when somebody sees themselves and they realize, holy smokes, I'm not split stepping. Oh my gosh, anything that they've been taught by their coaches or by me, they realize, oh, there is hope because I'm not doing. If you think you're doing everything that your coaches are telling you and you're not improving, well, then you'll say, I guess it's just not for me. But it actually is. It's a little hard for people to watch themselves play at first. But then they realize, oh, no wonder I'm not getting better. I'm not even doing what I thought I was. And then they get this renewed belief of, oh, I can get better. And then with video, no different than, remember John Madden with the telestration with football? Like, when you see yourself and you realize, hey, the lob occurred and you went to the wrong spot, and that's why you lost the point. Once players see, not just hear, but see what they need to do and how they can improve, the improvement. I tried to give a really great on-court lesson. I can tell you that the results that my students are seeing are 10 times that when it comes to online. There is something about seeing yourself, having it explained simply, believing that you can do it, and then just going out in a systematic way and practicing, that it puts it all together for players. And I'm very proud of my students because whether it's a 3.0 becoming a 4.5 or winning nationals, or they can now play tennis for the first time because they always felt it was too hard. I mean, it doesn't matter what level, you're always going to improve when you start to see yourself on video.
Great stuff. By the way, especially since now we have 105 people on, I want to take advantage of people hearing that, you know, Ryan does this. And if you would like him to, you think, oh, it'd be fun to work with, I'd like him to analyze technique or a match, as we talk about. It is a business. He's not, doing freebies. But if you're like, I would like this guy to coach me, I'd like to learn more about this. What is the email? You said you'd like people to email you. I put you in the. What is it? It's simple to remember. So what is it?
So it's just Ryan@2minutetennis.net.
Yeah, Ryan at 2minutetennis.net with a 2, right?
Yes, the number, it's numeric. Yep.
2minutetennis.net. Ryan at 2minutetennis, and I'll put that in later when Ryan goes back. But I love this question because I find that this is one of the main mistakes. So I like that Jean put this on. Actually, we just did a lesson the other day. She was just out on my court the other day. All right. I find myself stuck in no man's land after returning a serve because women don't serve as hard. I don't know whether to go in or rush back. Any advice? Go ahead.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So that's a great question. And so I would tell you, if you're inside no man's land, I know you're probably talking about doubles. Maybe you're talking about doubles, but whether it's singles or doubles, I want you hitting and going forward. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go close to the net, because if the serve isn't super fast, there might be a lot of lobbing that occurs in that match. So you don't want to rush to the net to lose at a faster rate and just have the ball easily go over your head. So when you're in no man's land and you return, go forward, but only go to the service line. Now, you might think, yeah, but what if they hit it to my feet? Well, you do have to be able to hit low volleys and half volleys. But if you're standing in no man's land to return serve, we kind of have to understand the level of play that's occurring. And so chances are there's some lobs and you're afraid to go forward. So only go to the service line. And we'll talk about doubles in a second here too. And we can address this with all the players. But I would go forward to the service line. I wouldn't necessarily hit the ball and then just retreat. This is prime real estate in tennis. But that doesn't mean you have to go to the net and then get lobbed. So if you're playing someone who doesn't lob, you can go all the way up, middle of the box. But if you're playing someone who does a lot of lobbing, hit, go forward, only go to the service line or toes on the service line. And then when you get the overhead, you'll be in a great position to win.
Yeah, I like that. Although I do want to have a slight coaching debate to see what you think.
Yeah,
because there's definitely some people who are really good at the ground strokes, and they keep coming to the net every single time it's a weak serve because they play opponents who hit a lot of weak serves. They're not necessarily always going to do great at the net. And so, but the mistake that Gene is talking about is so true, because it's one of the things I see over and over again, is that you hit and you decide that you're not going to go in, right? You either got to go in or you got to get back, as you're already picking up on. This is something you're doing wrong. But you do get stuck in no man's land, and then you get a ball at your feet within 2 shots in no man's land, then you make the mistake. Here's what I believe you need to start doing. Everybody who decides, like, I'm going to go in a good amount of time, I'm going to take Ryan's advice, go in a good amount of time, but sometimes I'm going to get into a rally. This is, again, another thing about just knowing what the right thing to do versus practicing. You have to practice. I would practice first footwork, just shadow points, hit, get back, take about 3 steps back. Most of the time, you're not going to get all the way behind the baseline. So that's another thing I want you to practice, is realizing that, you got to get behind the baseline to get into a rally, but lots of times you're not going to make it. Sometimes sometimes it's going to take you 2 bites to finish the meal. So you get back. Let's say you can only get back a couple feet in front of the baseline, and it goes to your partner. They get a volley. In that time, you can either decide now you're going to run to the net, but let's just say you want to get back and you're going to, because your partner's probably not going to put the ball away. Now you can take your time to get back another 2 feet to get into your rally. Or if you hit a ball and then you kind of like half hit it back, then after you hit that shot, as the ball's going over the net, just don't stand there. I find that that's when you guys really make the mistake. You hit, you move back, then you stop, and then you're stuck. So,
and that's part of, I think, Pete, I think that's part of the pre-planning. I was talking about pre-planning where you're going to hit your shot. So you can pre-plan the move that you're going to make too, so that you don't hit and go, wait, what am I doing? Have it in your mind. Like you said, if you're going to hit and go back because that's giving you the best chance to win, then do it. I'm always trying to get people to go forward, but if it's not working and you're in the middle of the match and you're thinking, man, I'm missing every low volley or half volley, and they're just ripping it at my feet, well, then maybe going back is the solution. But to her point, it's you want to make that decision, because players tend to hit the same serve. Yeah, they hit the same serve over and over again. So you kind of know what to expect by the 5th serve coming to you. So now you're just going to make the decision, go in or go back in the way that's going to help you to win.
Yeah. Gordon said, and then we got to get to the next point, because we're literally going to be like 3 hours just going through point number 1. That's how we got a great active chat. Is the service line not no man's land? That's a good question. I think it's just a little beyond no man's land, right? It starts to become a little bit of pole position. Good question.
Yeah, I don't consider the service line no man's land. I don't consider that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to mistake number 2. And you guys keep asking questions. This is awesome. We definitely don't want to deter.
Okay, so very simple. Mistake number 2, not having an air target during a rally. Let me ask you something very simple. What percentage of the time when you're hitting a ground stroke, do you know the exact height you're trying to make the ball pass over the net? Just think of a number. What percentage of the time do you have just even a target over the net that you're trying to hit? Because where you are on the court can help you decide how high you want to hit over the net. So here's the easiest way to think of this. As you move inside the court, aim lower over the net. As you move back behind the baseline, aim higher over the net. Something I used to do all the time at the club where I used to coach is get a helium balloon. And I was kind of well known for it, always bringing out the balloon for my students. And I would tie a balloon, and it would be a big Mickey Mouse or Snoopy balloon, right? That I would just get at a local grocery store. And I would tie it to the top of the net, and it would float above the net. And I would have students, or I would hit with my student, and we would try to hit the balloon. And wouldn't you know, it was the most consistent you would ever see a student be. There is a recipe, if you will, for hitting a court target. Most players have court targets. Most people have an idea of where they want the ball to land on the court. But rarely do people think of the height that is needed over the net in order to hit that target. Here's the simple recipe. The speed you hit the ball plus the spin you put on the ball plus the height the ball travels over the net equals where the ball lands. Most players in that recipe of 3 things to get one thing, most players do think of the speed and the spin they're trying to put on the ball. But in my experience, rarely do people add that third ingredient. And boy, does that hurt your ability to hit the court target. For instance, have you ever seen someone get a short ball and they go forward into the court, they hit the ball out, and they say, too much. Come on, Gary, too much. And they say too much. And you want to say, what do you mean by too much? Like, what was too much? And usually people say, oh, I overhit it, or I went for too much. When really, you look at Serena or you look at Alcaraz, and they hit the ball twice as hard, and their ball stays in. And it isn't just the spin that they're putting on the ball. It's that a lot of times players come inside the court, and the ball travels too high over the net. And then the ball ends up going out because they're not thinking of a court target. I'm sorry, an air target, a height that you're aiming. So as you move back, aim higher. As you move forward, aim lower over the net. Are there exceptions to that rule? There are exceptions to every rule. But learn the rule first, then you can learn the exceptions. Go out and practice having an air target. Heck, get a helium balloon, put it on a string, have it float above the net. If you're inside the court, have your on-court coach have it floating 2 feet over the net when you're here, and hit the target at that height. And then if you're back here, have them put the balloon 10 feet over the net. And then the ball is going to travel much higher. And you are going to find how consistent you become, all because of the air target.
Okay, a couple things, guys. I did put in the chat Ryan's email address. So if you're liking this and want to work with him, email him. Jack, by the way, I sent your tumbler. He won our trivia there tonight. I sent the tumbler to you. Have you seen Mia Maribon's ornament? We got it. And I sent the towel. I sent that all to you. That's all on the way, my friend. So congratulations on your big win. Now, he says, Ryan, you don't have time to think about height in the middle of a rally. What are you talking about? What do you say to that?
I would say, well, what then do you have time to think about? So whether you think about the height over the net or you don't think about height over the net, you have the same amount of time. You have the same amount of time whether you pick a height or you don't pick a height.
Yeah.
It's all about what you believe you're capable of accomplishing. And I would say, Jack, if you think you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're right. I can tell you that your opponents, based on your statement, your opponents are happy that you're not thinking of air targets. If I can promise you, if you go out onto the court and you had a helium balloon, tie it to the top of the net and rally and try to hit the balloon, it would make all the difference in the world. And I know you can, Jack. I absolutely know you can. A lot of times people just have to see it and then they'll believe it. So go out and see it and then you'll believe it. I promise you can do it.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, again, this has to do with, you hear these great advices, then you have to go practice them. One of the things when last time I was working with juniors, we would take squeegees and we would stick them up into the net, so the net would get super high, and then the kids would rally, over this net. We even put the squeegee like in the middle, so I mean the net was very high, and then they would first just rally cross court, and of course, since that, now they're back. Remember, Ryan said the further back you are, the higher you should hit, so the kids have a further court position. First, you get them comfortable. Now they're like hitting great cross court shots. Then it was, okay, let's play 2-7 cross court. Winners go up, losers go down. Coach isn't happy. All of a sudden, the kids are doing sprints. So now all of a sudden, there's like pressure with execution, and this is how you get much better at tennis. So then you'll start doing this under pressure, and you can think on autopilot. Okay, good stuff. Let's.
Oh, you want me to do number 3?
Let's go to number 3.
Great. All right. So number 3. This is all about when your opponent comes to the net. I do not want you to avoid your opponent, but rather I want you to involve your opponent. This is piggybacking off of what we talked about when your opponent is serving and volleying from the question from before. It's very simple. When your opponent is approaching the net, they're typically doing so offensively. If your opponent is coming to the net offensively, that means you're defensive. They're usually hitting a good approach shot, or it's a strong serve. But let's say it's a strong approach shot and it goes into the corner, and now you're maybe in a little bit of trouble. Your opponent's now coming in. You're defensive, what I call the red shot. I'm sorry, a red situation. But you're going to go for an offensive shot, which is the green shot I talk about. You don't want to go for an offensive shot in a defensive situation. Instead, I want you to involve your opponent. See, when your opponent comes to the net, there are different shots you can go for. You can go for a pass down the line. You can go for a pass cross court. You can go for a lob over them and try to avoid them and make the ball land behind them. That's in the category of avoiding your opponent. Or you can involve them. Just hit it right to them with a little bit of spin and not too hard, and gravity will bring the ball down low. Or you hit a defensive lob, what I call the 2.5-second lob, where if you've ever tried to make your lob go in the air and stay in the air for 2.5 seconds before the opponent hits an overhead. By the way, it is shockingly high how high you have to hit a lob from the moment you contact until the opponent hits an overhead for you to get it to stay in the air for 2.5 seconds. They have no ability. I can promise you they've never practiced. They've never gone and taken a tennis lesson and asked for the coach to hit sky-high defensive lobs for that person to then practice their overheads. And they've never practiced bounce overheads either. So when you put all that together, you realize, the most valuable way to win a point is by forcing an error. It's the most valuable way to win. And it's not an unforced error, and it's not a winner. It's a forced error. That's the most valuable way. And you force an error by hitting it at the feet or super high, not to avoid them, but to allow them to screw up the overhead. It's very simple. When your opponent comes to the net, it can be very easy to freak out and think, I have to avoid them. I can promise you your opponent who's coming to the net is coming in going, I hope she avoids me. Please don't make me volley. They don't want you to hit the ball to them. They want you to avoid them. Because when you avoid your opponent, if this is you and you avoid them, you know what you often avoid? You end up avoiding the court. And that's good for your opponent and bad for you. Don't treat your opponent like they're Pete Sampras. Don't treat your opponent like they're, Tim Henman or Stefan Edberg. Hit the ball at their feet, hit the ball super high, and watch how they miss. Now, someone said, what about the dink? You're talking, Gordon, about if you hit it at their feet and they hit the ball short. Well, this brings up a very great topic, which is shots have a marriage, right? So when you hit a shot, you always have to think about the movement after that shot. If you hit a ball to someone's feet, you have to then move forward. When you hit the ball to someone's feet, you don't recover laterally. You climb the ladder, as we call it. You move forward. If they hit if they hit a high ball, you are taking it out of the air, whether it's really high and you want to take a swing volley, or the ball's not so high and you just take more of a sweep the book off the bookshelf type of volley and hit it past them. But if they hit it short, then you're up there to go for the pass. So you don't want to just hit to their feet and watch it, or hit to their feet and then recover. You want to hit to their feet, because remember, they're going to be around the service line when you're making contact. Your opponent never, and I mean never, hits an approach shot, and then by the time you're contacting is 5 feet from the net. Never. Watch your own matches. It doesn't happen. Your opponents hit approach shots from no man's land. And with the speed of their shot, they're only going to get to the service line by the time you contact the ball. There's plenty of room to get it at their feet. You just have to climb the ladder, and then you don't have to win every point. You're just trying to win more points than you lose. And hitting to their feet or hitting sky high lobs, you're going to win a lot more points than you lose.
I love that. I love you have, to me, you've said a lot of great lines, but my favorite line so far is shots have a marriage. That is so good. And, the more that you guys can connect things in your mind and then connect them to your body, the better. And this is, again, one of the big mistakes that people make is they're reacting all the time to their opponent's shots. And lots of times, if you're to say they're guessing what your opponent is going to do, you're so late in reacting. And so what Ryan's saying, shots have a marriage, what he's saying is when you're hitting a ball, there's usually a common reaction to that shot. I like to call it boxer instincts. It's like whatever punch you're throwing, judge your connection. Am I connecting great with this ball? And is that going to put them in pain? And most likely it's something weak. Am I hitting the shot that this feels ugly off my racket? Well, then right after you hit it, you don't have to wonder what they're going to do. You should maybe drop back 2 or 3 steps, and then you can see their setup, and that will tell you even more. But if you're always trying to react to their shots off contact, off the strings, you're going to feel like, oh, I guess I'm just too slow and I don't have any good reactions anymore. So that was awesome.
And also, and Peter, just to understand that even more from the player's side, the easiest way to predict the shot that your opponent is going to hit is to just know what you probably hit if you're in that situation. Gordon said, what if there's a dink? Probably because Gordon has had a ball at his feet and he just kind of maybe even accidentally dinked a little half volley.
No accident. Gordon's got some hands, maybe.
He does have some hands. I've heard. You told me. But that's the thing. It's what is the shot that you're expecting back? And you don't have to be right every time. Tennis is a game where you're trying to win 55% of the points. And if you win 55% of the points, you're going to win the match and dominate the match. So players say, but what about this? And what about that? And it's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask. The problem, though, is don't let the fact that you're only going to win 90% of the points keep you from doing the strategy. Because some players are like, I want to win only 100% of the points, or I'm not going to try the strategy. It's like, you just have to win more points than you lose. Hit the ball to someone's feet, move in. That's the marriage. Every shot has a movement. You hit the ball, and you have to know, if I execute this shot, this is where I'm going to go. And as soon as you know where to go, you like you said, you don't have to be as fast. You're getting to the spot before the ball. You seem psychic because your opponent's like, how do you always know where I'm going to hit the ball? It's because I have a marriage. Every time I hit a ball, I expect a certain shot back, and I just have to be right more than I'm wrong. Yeah. Whether you're in Vegas, Atlantic City, or you're playing tennis, you just got to be right more than you're wrong.
I love that. Shots have a marriage. That is really, really good. I want to give a shout out to our audience. We just went to 108 viewers, and the average person today can't make it through one 10-second TikTok video. So you guys are now 45 minutes into this, and the numbers are just staying straight and even going a little up. That's amazing. That shows that you guys are great students and that Ryan is doing a great job there. By the way, if you haven't noticed, I put Ryan's email address up there in case you want to work with Ryan. I highly recommend it. And I recommend that I get off the screen right now so you can go into your next point.
Thanks. And by the way, just send me an email because it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I have students who I work with on a weekly basis from all around the world, and they send me videos of their matches, technique. It really doesn't matter. There's no travel involved when it comes to this. You just have to send me a video of you playing. All right, so let's talk about some doubles mistakes. Mistake number one. Thank you. Thank you. Mistake number one, random aiming. So I want to give you the simplest way to know where to hit the ball. In doubles, if you follow this strategy 100% of the time, you'll be right 85% of the time. It's this simple. Most points are played one up, one back versus one up, one back. And almost all points start one up, one back versus one up, one back. So this strategy really works. Hit the ball to the opponent who is standing where you are standing. That's it. When you're in the back, hit the ball to the back person. If you do that 100% of the time, you'll be right 85% of the time. When you're at the net, hit the ball at the legs of the other net person. If you do that 100% of the time, you'll be right 85% of the time. I'll give you a couple exceptions to talk about the 15%, right? 85 plus 15. But let's just go over this. Your job when you're in the back is to keep the point going. This is why the cross-court rally occurs in doubles, because the baseliners realize that if they end the point, it's going to go badly. If you think about Craig O'Shaughnessy and the work that he's done with all the stats on the Pro Tour, when the baseliner, this is pros, when the baseliner's shot in doubles ends the point, meaning nobody else hits the ball, like this player right here, their shot ends the point. This team only wins the point 25% of the time. So what does the winner look like? Maybe a screaming shot down the line, or they're way over here, Angleby gets angled, they hit some crazy shot, and this person up there can't get it. But 75% of the time, it's net, out, long. It's why when you hit a down the line screaming winner, and we've all done it, we feel amazing. It's like shooting a half court shot in basketball. It feels great because we weren't expecting to make it anyway, to be honest. So it's a little bit of surprise, and we're all excited when we make it. When you're in the back, your job is to hit the ball to the other back player, the other prolonger, if you will. Baseliners hit to baseliners. When you're at the net, your job is a little different. Your job is typically to end the point. This is why when the baseliner pops it up to the net player and the net player slams it away, we apologize to our partner. Sorry, I gave it right to her. Think about that, right? Because net players are trying to end the point. In order to end the point at the net, hit it to the legs of the other net person. Now, I can already hear some of you, and it's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Why not just go to the middle? Why don't we just hit the ball to the middle? The problem is when you're about to hit the ball, the baseliner covers the middle. And when we aim to the middle, we end up hitting it too close to the baseliner. They have time to react, and then they hit it back to our partner, and we squander the opportunity. I want you to think back to when you were in 6th grade and you were playing dodgeball, and you had the ball in your hand and you were going to throw it to someone or throw it at someone. Who did you pick? Did you pick the kid halfway across the gym who had all the time in the world to get out of the way of your ball? Or did you pick the person closest to you? That poor soul, Jimmy. Oh, I feel so bad for Jimmy. And you threw it right at him. You're like, get out of there. Get out of the game, right? When you have a ball at the net, and specifically a high ball above net level, you are going to hit toward the side of the court where the person closer to you is standing, and the ball will go right by them. Pete, I hope you like this quote. You said you like a couple of my quotes. Doubles is not a game of avoid the opponent. Doubles is a game of hit to the correct opponent. See, in doubles, they've doubled the number of people versus singles, but they haven't doubled the size of the court. This is why singles players really struggle to play doubles sometimes. As singles, you're thinking, where's open court, right? It's a little more open court, obviously, a lot more open court. So players from singles go to doubles and they're thinking, where's the open court? But the open court is these small little areas. Instead of hitting the ball away from your opponents, which just means you're going to avoid the court, hit the ball to the correct person. So let's go over 2 scenarios where you can change things up. Let's say you're playing someone and every time you hit cross court, they just keep creeping and they just keep pinching and they're trying to intercept it and they're nailing it at your partner. And you're like, man, every time I hit the ball cross court, they just keep moving. That would be fine to go up the line. By the way, when you go up the line, aim for the singles line, give yourself a buffer, try to hit the singles line. And that just keeps them here. And maybe you don't win the point or the battle, but you win the war because now you keep them because they're afraid of that down the line, and you just bought yourself 10 shots cross court. Another example of an exception to this rule is when you're at the net and you have a low volley. When you have a low volley in doubles, you are not going to hit to the person closer to you because you're going to pop it up to them and then they should nail it at you, right? Because you have less time to react. So if the ball is low, then you do hit it to the side of the court where the person farther from you is standing. But learn the rule, then learn the exception. When you're in the back, hit to the back person. When you're up, hit it at the up person. You're not trying to hurt them. You're not trying to hit it 100 miles an hour. You're just sticking a volley or hitting a quality overhead toward their side of the court, and the ball's going to go right by them. There's a question. You want to take both space and time away? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a comment. This is Christopher. It's like just a good. He's just backing up. Christopher is actually a good player, so I wanted to put his intelligent comment up. He's a very good player, and actually, Christopher, just yesterday or the day before, you were number 1 on the leaderboard, but you've dropped all the way down to 16. That's how competitive it is, because now other people have 27 points, and you have 23 points. So I want to see within the next day, I want to see you back at the top of the leaderboard. But I did want to give him a shout out. Another shout out we got to give is the salt of the earth guy, Maribon.
What's up, Maribon?
Maribon is such a Maribon. I look much clearer tonight, don't I? I had got another new device. Maribon is the greatest. We had a live stream there tonight, and everything that could go wrong went wrong, Ryan, on my side. Maribon was a pro, and he did all the heavy lifting. My screen was all foggy. Of course, he looked much younger and better looking than I did the whole night, which made me very upset. I was all foggy. Then I was trying to do something. I think I was trying to put his link into the chat, and somehow I made the lens it knocked it off, and now I'm sideways talking to everybody. That lasted like 5 minutes. Maribon didn't flinch at all. Just perfect pro. So
he is a pro.
I always love him being my my sidekick there. He's great. Okay. All right, Ryan. Let's see. Is there any there's noise coming from Pete's mic. Is there really? That sounds clear. Do I sound noisy to you?
I thought I had a reverb in my ear. So I always hear it when I'm talking. But I hear you perfectly.
You hear me perfectly, but I hear
me perfectly when I'm talking, but that's okay. I'm good. I'm like Maribon. I'm going to be a pro.
All right. Well, again, I'm screwing things up, so I'm getting out of the screen, and you're going to go, and then everything will be quiet.
All right. Common mistake number 2 that I see all the time when I analyze players: not playing offense and defense at the net. So we talked about your job in the back is to prolong the point. You keep the point going. And that typically means that unless you're coming to the net, right, there's a lot of cross-court rallying that occurs. So what do the net players do? Well, you just have to think of, and this is the way I describe it, you have to think that the ball is a magnet. And I just so happen to have a ball that is a magnet. So as the ball is going cross court. What you don't want to do is get a great neck workout watching the ball go back and forth. What you need to do is move as if the ball is a magnet and it's pulling you toward it. Now there are some details I'm going to leave out initially, so I'll get to the details as we go. But let's say the server's partner is normally in the middle of the box, the returner's partner on the service line slightly shaded toward the center tee, what I teach. The serve comes in. So now let's say the return goes back to the server. Where do these two players go? They switch positions. The server's partner is in the middle of the box. They should move some version of this. They should move back as if they're now the returner's partner. The returner's partner now needs to move forward into the middle of the box. The ball is hit back cross court. And we'll talk about poaching and pinching. We'll get to that. The ball goes cross court. This player should now go forward into the middle of the box. This player moves back to their original position. Now, let's talk about trying to get the ball. When you're the returner's partner in this scenario, and the returner is making contact with the ball, you are praying that your partner, this player, doesn't give the net player a high ball because they're going to nail it at you. You are hoping that your partner does you a solid and gets the ball back cross court. When they do, you go, "Thank you, partner. Now I can attack." Now you go up. This player, the ball goes past them, and maybe they tried to get it, but they couldn't. Now they think, "Shoot, I didn't get the ball. The ball went to my partner." You're a dead duck up here. You're a fish out of water, being up while your partner's hitting the ball. One, you're leaving the middle wide open. And two, if your partner hits the ball to this guy or this gal, boom, you can get nailed. And you have no time to react. So then you'll move back. You simply want to move with the ball. Now, the amount that you move up and back, there's debate on it about that. But simply thinking the ball went behind me, I'm going to move back a little bit in case my partner hits it to the net player. The ball goes cross court. This player moves back in case this player hits it to the net player. If they do, they're probably going to nail it at the net player. Remember, net players aim for net players. And since you move back, you have a little more time to react. But if the ball goes cross court, you think, "Thanks, partner. Now I can attack." See, when you're at the net in doubles, you can't just think of it as I'm playing offense. You also have to play defense. Baseliners are the neutral players in doubles. Net players are the offensive and defensive players. So right now, who's the most offensive player on the court? The server's partner. They're up. They're ready to attack. Who's the most defensive player on the court right now? The returner's partner. They're thinking, "Oh, please don't hit it to the net player." If the ball goes cross court, now you switch positions. Now you move back here. This player then moves forward, and now it's reversed. Now this player is the offensive player. This player is the defensive player, hoping their partner avoids the net guy. This explains why the server's partner starts in the middle of the box and the returner's partner starts on the line when there's a serve. Now you might think, wait, the ball's back here. Shouldn't this player be back and this player be up? The serve can only be hit by the returner, and everyone knows that, including this person. So they're going to be up because they know the ball is going to this player. But once the return is hit cross court and you were unable to get it, then you move back a little, this player moves forward a little, and you keep doing that over and over again. When players tell me I don't like doubles because it's just a lot of standing around, it's not the workout that singles is. And maybe that's true, but they're sort of outing themselves that they don't do this. Because I can tell you it is quite the workout to go up and back to play offense and defense at the net. And you might do a lot of moving and never get the ball. But what you're making sure of is that you're prepared when you do get the ball. So it's very simple. You're at the net in doubles and the ball goes by you, move back a little bit. And when you're on the service line and your partner gets across court, move up a little bit and be aggressive. And it just means, as you move forward, like a keeper in soccer or like a goalie in lacrosse, they come forward and they cover more space. And it's so much easier to get your racket on that ball. And then now you can start to nail it at this player's legs and you're going to win more matches. So make sure you move as if the ball is a magnet. There are nuances to that. And we'll actually get to some of them next with our with the idea of poaching. But it's important that you start not just standing in one place, getting a great neck workout, but that you move with the ball to play offense and defense.
Very good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. We can hear you.
Now, you guys, again, I was screwing up, right? Because Michael pointed out that Ryan and I are a doubles team, and it's like when Ryan's on talking, everything's perfect. Pete enters. It's like I'm jumping in front of you all night and missing poach volleys, Ryan. That's what's happening. But if you guys can comment, is it better now that I have my headset off?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so. But what do I know?
More than me. And we're at 111 people. Are you kidding me? Anyway, that was awesome. You're on fire. I'm going to let you continue and what are we up to? Are we on 6 or 7 at this point?
Well, this is number 6. Yeah, this is number 6. Yeah, number 3.
Anything else to add before we go to 6, or should we just go to 6?
Let's go to 6. Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Strategy mistake number 6 that I see. This is number 3 for doubles. It is guessing or just trying to have a hunch when it comes to when do you cover the alley versus when to cover the middle or try to poach. So there's a very simple idea that is actually right in front of you. And if you know to look for it, you will know when should you be more inclined to cover the alley and when should you be more inclined to cover the cross-court ball. And this is all about inside versus outside ground strokes. Every one of your opponents, and it doesn't matter if they are lefty or a righty or a two-handed backhand or it's singles or doubles, it doesn't matter. Every time your opponent hits a ball, they're either hitting an inside ground stroke or an outside ground stroke. An outside ground stroke is the ground stroke on the outside of the court. The inside ground stroke is the ground stroke toward the inside of the court. Have you ever played doubles with somebody maybe new who you don't normally play with, and they say, you want to play forehand or backhand? We all say that. You know what they're saying? They're talking about the outside ground stroke. Which stroke do you want to be on the outside? Outside ground strokes go cross court a lot more than they do down the line. Inside ground strokes go down the line more than they go cross court. This is one of those things that players do not believe when they first hear it. And then they watch themselves play and they watch their matches and they watch their opponents and they say, you have got to be kidding me. It's that easy. It's that easy. Will you be right every time? No. And you're allowed to say rats and fratsin about me, and that's okay. Because I know you will be right more than you are wrong. When your opponent is hitting on the outside ground stroke, I want you to be ready to make this move, because this is the ball where they tend to hit cross court. This is no different than a right-handed baseball batter hitting to left field. Do they always do that? No. Do they do that more than hitting to right field? Yes, for any baseball fan. They're hitting on the right side, they're hitting to left field. When the opponent has an inside ground stroke, I want you to think twice about making this move. Because the inside ground stroke, and it doesn't matter if it's a forehand or a backhand, the inside ground stroke gets pulled down the line all the time. When you're watching your opponent at the net, and I can do this on the other side too, I want you to pay attention to the side of the body where they're making contact and decide if you're going to hold and cover the alley when it's an inside ground stroke. And I want you to decide that you're going to be more aggressive going for the ball on the outside ground stroke. Now, this is the most true when you're dealing with a right-hander on the ad side and a left-hander on the deuce side. So let's talk about this with the right-hander. Right now, that's an outside ground stroke. That's the ground stroke toward the outside of the court. And for a right-hander, that is their backhand. It is not common, and I'm sure you know somebody, George from your local club, probably amazing at this shot, but that cross-court ball, and then to take a backhand and push it up the line, it is not an easy shot. So when George or Carol sees that ball come to her backhand, she's thinking, that's a risky shot. I'm going to bring it in. Most people swing across their body anyway, so the technique kind of works that way to send it this way. So when you see an outside ground stroke and it's a backhand, that ball is going cross court 95% of the time. So before they ever hit it, you know where it's going. When the ball goes to the inside ground stroke, you can expect the ball to go down the line. And if they hit cross court, no harm, no foul. Who cares? You're staying and the ball went cross court. But when your opponent has an inside ground stroke, they're more likely to hit down the line, especially when it's a forehand. So when the ball is, especially if they move around it and they hit that ball is going, the ball kind of comes to here, but they move around it to hit a forehand, that ball is going down the line. So just move over. And if they hit cross court, no harm, no foul. If it's a lefty and they are on the deuce side, it's the equivalent of the righty on the ad side. The outside ground stroke is going cross court, especially when it is the backhand. That ball is going cross court and you can jump the route and you will put your racket on the ball and then you nail it at their legs. But if the ball goes to the inside, they're most likely going down the line. So you don't want to go because you'll actually be vacating where they're planning on hitting the ball. Your opponents don't realize something. They are deciding where to aim based on the side of their body where they're contacting. They don't even realize they're doing it, but I'm telling you it's true. And you're probably making that decision too, actually. When your opponent has an inside ground stroke, think of it as a right-hander and you get that backhand, that's when people kind of pull it and they go, oh, there's leverage that direction, and they can really nail it down the line. So you see an inside ground stroke, don't be afraid to move over a little. They're probably hitting it down the line. You see an outside ground stroke, don't be afraid just before they hit to make a little move because they're probably going cross court. Now, what I just taught you is the most true when they're behind the baseline. When your opponent is behind the baseline, they will follow that rule a lot, that aiming rule, unbeknownst to them, by the way. But if they are inside the court, if your partner hits a weak ball and they step inside the court and now they have an outside ground stroke and they're up by the service line or in no man's land, you can't think, oh, it's an outside ground stroke. They're probably going cross court. You shouldn't be poaching or pinching on that. You're just going to hold your side. I call that directing traffic. You just kind of move over a little bit and say, don't even think about going down the line, and you direct the traffic back to your baseliner. You take away the alley, so they think, oh, that's taken. So now I'm going to go back to the baseliner who has more time to react. Hopefully they hit it low to the feet, the ball pops up, and then you put it away. But the idea of an outside versus inside ground stroke when your opponent is behind the baseline, I can tell you it is so, so simple. Opponents behind the baseline, inside ground stroke is going down the line more often than not. Outside ground stroke is going cross court more often than not. So instead of guessing if they're going to hit cross court or down the line, you're actually going to know and be right more than 50% of the time. It's no longer a coin flip. This tip was a revelation for me, Ryan. Admit I've sometimes had the opposite preference for which shots to attack when I'm at the net. Yeah, Paul, let me take this actually, Pete, because it wasn't until I had a chance to talk to Gigi Fernandez about this that I completely changed what I taught. I taught what the industry standard was, which was the ball goes out wide and you follow it. And the ball goes down the tee and you follow it. And then Gigi said, actually, Ryan, I kind of teach the opposite. And she said, especially at the club level. That maybe at the pros, they're hitting the ball so hard that they're a little late on that inside ground stroke and the ball kind of ricochets back cross court. But in club tennis, that inside ball is just ripped up the line all the time. And so, Paul, I'm right there with you. The first, I would say, 15 years of my coaching, maybe 20 years of my coaching, to be honest, I kind of taught the industry standard. And now for the last 10, I've completely flipped that idea on its head. And I'm so glad that I learned this and understood it from her in such a simple way. She did a great job of explaining it. And I've only taught this going forward. And it is incredible how much confidence players have at the net because they're right a lot more than they're wrong. And that's all you got to be in order to win.
By the way, it's a good opportunity to shout out tomorrow's live stream, 12 o'clock, lunchtime, 17-time Grand Slam champion, Gigi Fernandez, available for Q&A. So if you got nothing else to do at lunch, you should, even if you have something to do at lunch, you should cancel that. It's like, let's say you're going to go have lunch with Mary for lunch. You have a chance to ask Gigi Fernandez a question, say, cancel the lunch with Mary and come to the Gigi Q&A. That's what I say.
Bring Mary to the...
You know what? Bring Mary. Okay. What about this? She goes, what about when the returner hits a lob? I don't know this is quick, but
Jude, you read my mind. I could show you my notebook right now. The last strategy tips, we're going to go right in it. You led me, Jude, the check's in the mail. Thank you for leading me right down the path. All right. So what happens on a return? In my experience, when a lob occurs in doubles, and we're talking about a lob down the line, and it doesn't matter if it's the returner or subsequently, later on in the point. When a lob goes down the line, in my experience, only the person running down that lob goes to the right spot. So allow me to go through this, and I hope that what I say makes sense and that it wins you a lot of points. So when the lob goes down the line, obviously this team is going to switch. But what we need to know is, where should this player go? So we all know where this player is going to go. They're going to go over to the ball. And you have to understand what shot they're probably going to hit back. So in your mind, what shot is typically hit back? You lob down the line. This player moves over. What shot do they typically hit back? They typically hit back a lob. That's very valuable information because it helps the other three players know where to go. Okay, so I'm going to leave this person hanging right now. We're not going to talk about where they're going to go, and we're going to talk about these two players. If you know that it's a high likelihood that this person is going to lob, what shot do you want to hit off of their lob. I hope you're thinking overhead. You want to hit an overhead off of their shot. That helps you know where to go. Are you going to hit an overhead if you stay behind the baseline? No. Are you going to hit an overhead if you attack the net and go forward? No. You've got to be like a punt returner in football, standing in the middle of where you think the punt is going to land, or an outfielder in baseball, standing kind of in the middle of where you think the ball is going to land. When you lob down the line and you expect a lob back, I want your team, the lobbing team, to put your toes on the service line. When you put your toes on the service line, then if they hit a terrible lob, you can move forward. If they hit a mediocre lob, you don't have to go anywhere. And if they hit the best lob you've ever seen, because your toes are on the service line, you can take just 2 steps back and hit an overhead. When you lob your opponent, you put your toes on the service line. You got to write that in stone. Paper mache. The reason I'm saying that is because if you're playing the best lobber in your club, don't be afraid to be 1 or 2 steps behind the service line. Or if you're maybe an older player or you don't move very quickly back, you just don't want a lot of room behind you. And that just makes sure that you don't have to go very far back. But the goal is to hit an overhead. Now, let's go back to this player. Since we know when the red team, after they lob, the lobbing team should position themselves on the service line, expecting a lob back, which typically happens, right? You lob down the line, and this player was over here, maybe serving and volleying, and they got to run back, and they're running off the court. They're in a red situation. They're going to hit a red shot, defensive situation, hitting a defensive shot. And now this team's going to hit the overhead. Where should this player go? Well, I'll tell you where they usually go. They stay at the net and they switch. That is a recipe for disaster. When the lob goes over your head, do not stay at the net. Remember the first strategy mistake we talked about, random aiming. And I said that the cure was hit the ball to the opponent who is standing where you're standing. You're the opponent who they're going to aim for because they're up hitting an overhead and you have no time to react. What the smartest doubles players know is when the lob goes over their head and they yell switch and their partner goes and gets it, they know to move back. The reason you're moving back is you're saying, partner, I love you, but I don't trust you. And I'm going to prepare for the worst and I'm going to hope for the best. What ends up happening is your partner hits a lob, they maybe take 2 steps back and now they've got an overhead, but now you're at the baseline. And now this person has nobody to aim for, meaning there's no person who's standing where they're standing. So they have to hit an overhead to a baseliner, no matter if they hit it to you who moved back diagonally or the partner who ran back the lob. Now you've got a ground stroke. Now you can hit it at their feet. Now they pop it up, you come in, and then you put the ball away. It is very, very simple. You want to start dominating when a lob occurs. When you lob and you hit a great lob, put your toes on the service line. When you are lobbed, switch and go to the baseline. This is what, if you just watch high-level college players, watch what happens. Go on to some great YouTube channels that have amazing college tennis and just write college tennis matches in YouTube and you'll watch match after match. Watch what happens when there are lobs. This is what you see when there are lobs. The lobbing team goes to the service line. The team who was lobbed goes back to the baseline and they play the point out from there. You do this, you dominate your opponents because I can tell you, this player who was lobbed usually stays up, or at best, they go back to the service line. And then when this lob ensues, you nail them and they're a dead duck. You got to own this strategy. And when you do, you're going to win a lot more matches.
This was amazing. Amazing presentation. Well done, Ryan. Well done to everybody who was on. You're getting the thank you. So lately I've been kind of doing the hot wing shout out after you went through the gauntlet of coaching tonight. This camera, that camera, that camera. Tell everybody what you got going on and how they can get closer and better coaching from you.
Yeah. So if you liked kind of what I did here with the strategy board, you would really love personalized coaching. If you've never had a coach look at your serve or your forehand or your backhand and compare you side by side to the pros and make you a 45-minute personalized analysis where you send me, thank you, Karen, where you just send me 5 serves from the back view, 5 serves from the side view, and I will put you side by side with Kyrgios and Sakari and Osaka and Pericard and Sinner and Federer, and I will put you side by side with them, showing you what you're doing correctly. I actually write it on the screen so it's right in front of you. Oh, these are the things I'm doing correctly. Oh, these are the things I need to improve. And I take you systematically through from beginning to end. I always believe, by the way, you should always tell people the price because I'm very proud of the price. But it's $160 to have me analyze an entire match. If you play somebody who you don't know how to beat them, or you for some reason you just keep losing to them, it's $160, and I will go through the entire match. I'll go point by point by point, showing you the core positioning, the shot selection, the things you're doing correctly, why you won a point, and then 3 games later, why you lost that point because you reacted differently. And you can see the comparison side by side. I show you points from the pros, from college, sometimes from amateur players. And whether it's your matches, whether it's your footwork, whether it is your technique, video analysis might just be the missing link to take you where you are to where you need to be. So send me an email, ryan@2minutetennis.net. This is my business. I have not taught on court. Basically, since I was on court with Pete a couple of years ago down in Tampa, I don't teach on court anymore. Everything I do is video analysis. I've met amazing people around the world, and I'd love to be able to help you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it says seems reasonable. I was thinking 200.
Okay, Pierce, it's 200. No.
Yeah, don't. Anyway, I do want to be on the court with you maybe next year or the year after. I would love to do another camp though. All right, Ryan, this was awesome, guys. Couple things before we go. Tomorrow, 12 o'clock, GD Fernandez. The next night, Greg from OTI, Greg Lesor from OTI, 8 p.m. Friday, I believe we're going to do it at 12 o'clock. Thomas from Field Tennis Instruction. I mean, he's amazing lineup this whole week. So make sure to tune in. Plus, tomorrow between 8 and 9, you will get, if you're on the free pass, you will get day 3. If you are in the paid membership, we already have 4 days available. So I think there's 27 points on the board. I might be releasing day 5 tomorrow as well. So I give the people of Lifetime a head start. And so we have a lot of people maxed out on points, but you'll get your emails tomorrow. We got live streams coming up. Ryan, it is 9:22. I imagine with a wife and kids, it's time to go to bed.
You got it.
Thank you so much. This was great. You did an awesome job.
Pete, thank you so much. When you reached out to me to do this, I was so excited. And again, I mean this when I said I couldn't wait for 8 p.m. to happen. I love helping your players, and I'm really honored that you asked me. So thank you.
Great job. Good night, everybody.